Welcome back to Skift Asia Forum. I hope you enjoyed your lunch, but I hope you saved some room for some data. So, when we say Asia at the front line of change, what do we mean by that? Well, we at Skift Research strongly believe that the prototype for the future of travel takes place in Asia. We talked a lot about experiences today. My colleague Michelle's laid some groundwork for me and saved me a bit of time in terms of what we mean by authentic experiences. So if we look at the major consumer trends driving consumer behavior and travel decisions now, this range of experiences from cultural experiences, luxury, sustainable experiences, these are being funneled through serious innovation in social commerce in Asia, which is really driving forward in a way that is different from other regions. And that's what we're going to go deeper into today. In terms of how we're going to break this down, we're going to look at Asia, where Asia is right now in terms of its thriving travel market, its leadership, as I mentioned, in social commerce, and finally how that is allowing it to leverage the boom in experiential travel. So where is Asia right now? Well, Asia is opening up, and not just to the wider world, but to itself and to its neighbors. And intra-regional travel is receiving a real boost right now. And this is being bolstered by a series of key pillars. We're seeing relaxed visa restrictions across the region. Right here in Thailand, they've expanded visa-free travel to 93 countries and introduced the new digital nomad visa. We're seeing the proliferation of low-cost flights. In fact, according to the International Air Traffic Association, Asia is set to account for 50% of global air passenger growth in the next 15 years. 50%. And as all of you know, we're seeing some really ambitious investment and travel targets. The Hong Kong Tourism Board, for example, recently invested $124 million over the 2024 to 2026 period into the industry. And last, but certainly not least, we're seeing the embedding of Asia's leadership in innovative travel tech. And we're going to dive deeper into that one in a moment, because really we see that as a key pillar. In terms of the Asian travel consumer market, we're seeing a lot of confidence, a lot of ambition for travel in 2025. Examples here of India and China. Compared to other major outbound markets, really a lot of enthusiasm and confidence, and a very strong foundation to build travel innovation off of. Now, I mentioned that I'm going to dive deeper into this point about travel tech, because this really is a major differentiator for Asia. And particular to this market. Why is this so important? Well, social media creators are the new power brokers in travel. If we look at the major sources of inspiration and trip planning, used by particularly younger generations of travelers, millennials and Gen Z, who are controlling an increasing portion of travel budgets, spending power and travel decisions, social media is by a dramatic margin the dominant channel. But we have known this for some time, and you don't need me to tell you that social media is important. But things have changed. So what's new? Well, what's new is that social commerce is driving social media beyond inspiration into actual transactions, into actual commerce occurring on platform. So a seamless path from discovery to purchase. Of course, that initial inspiration on social media is still critical for sparking the customer journey, but along the way, creator content, amplifying brand trust and credibility, which brands are now recognizing. But most importantly, travel purchases occurring seamlessly on platform. In terms of the influence of that creator content, we can show that partnering with creators really drives consumer engagement. Brands that partner with trusted creators feel more part of a consumer's inner circle, they feel more relevant, and most critically, as my colleague Michelle, I'm sure will attest to, it makes them feel more authentic. That concept of authenticity is absolutely critical, as we'll see in a moment. But why is this so important to Asia in particular? Well, Asia has a world-class and booming social commerce ecosystem, more so than any other region. And China is a particularly standout example. This is really not easy to do, creating this seamless journey. But Asia is investing in the expertise, the infrastructure, and the technology to make this work, and more so than anywhere else, and is seriously leading the pack. From a commercial perspective, this is a quote from Eric Nakfar from Klook. It's a shift away from search engine and big brand marketing and going directly to creators, generating consumer direct sales. So an increase in sales, yes, but also critically, it's also much cheaper as a distribution channel. So you're seeing this increase in sales, but also massive decrease in customer acquisition cost. And it's working. They're doing something right. If you want to know if something's working, follow the money. Investors really seem to like this company, and they really seem to like the tours and experiences space. If we look at the top 10 largest venture capital funded companies in 2023, the top 2 were tours and experiences OTAs. And this was during a time of overall decline in venture capital investment. And we've talked a lot about experiences today, and how does that connect to social commerce? Well, experiences is really where the rubber hits the road in terms of the power of social commerce, because it provides that access both to businesses and consumers in a seamless platform. And we're seeing a global trend towards experiences, experiential travel, driving travel decisions, driving consumer behavior. And while this is a global trend, once again, we can see that this is manifesting particularly strongly in Asia. The modern Asian traveler wants authentic, novel experiences, ones their friends and family might not have thought of, ones their parents' generation might not have had. So it's worth defining what I mean by authentic experiences. Again, my colleagues have already laid some groundwork there. But for the purposes of simplicity, we can divide these into 3 broad categories: authentic luxury experiences, authentic cultural experiences, and authentic sustainable and ecotourism experiences. Mind you, if I had eaten the food in Bangkok when I was putting these slides together, I might have added culinary as its own category, but that's okay. We can keep it under luxury and culture for now. And since Asia is such a stronghold of luxury, in order to illustrate how these experiences intertwine, let's take a look at luxury. So when we asked affluent consumers what they associate with a luxury experience, yes, exceptional service and attention to detail, exclusivity and privacy, these are the cornerstones of luxury. These things are not going anywhere. But increasingly, we're seeing luxury associated with authentic cultural experiences. There's that word, authentic again. Innovative technology, and sustainable and eco-friendly practices. Now, sustainability is a subject close to my heart, and this is quite an interesting one because we are in turbulent and uncertain economic times, and it can be trendy or perhaps easy to suggest during uncertain economic times that sustainable experiences go out the window. People want experiences that are available, that are cheap, that are convenient. They don't care about sustainability. Well, we can show that that's not the case because if we compare it to the last major global economic shock that disproportionately affected the travel industry, I hesitate to bring up the COVID pandemic again. We don't want to talk about it, but it is an instructive example. We asked consumers around the world whether they would consider supporting businesses that practice sustainable travel, sustainable experiences to be more or less important than before the pandemic. And hearteningly, there was a global response that it would be more important, but you guessed it, once again, India and China leading the pack on this by a significant distance. So Asian travelers, rather than drawing in their horns at these moments, seeing these moments of recalibration, of reset, as an opportunity to pivot to more sustainable experiences. So now that we understand this landscape of experiences a little better, let's bring it back to that booking funnel that I talked about. We can show that experiences drive the traveler booking funnel. In the pre-social media age, someone might say something like, I've always wanted to go to Beijing or Paris or Bangkok, and their desire to go to a destination would initiate that booking flow. Now, in the age of creator content of social media, travelers are watching short-form videos, following creators on their travels, seeing what they're going, and going, I want to do that. And the experience sparks and opens that booking flow. And through the power of social commerce, it also closes it. So this is why experiences are so critical, because they dominate both the top and the bottom of the booking funnel. And social commerce, the destinations and businesses that get social commerce right are the ones who are able to leverage that. So in terms of how this overall dynamic plays out, there's that high traveler confidence that I mentioned earlier, tech adoption by consumers, leading to greater creator engagement that builds that authenticity and trust that we've talked about quite a bit, social commerce driving the experience economy and leading to an even more thriving market that yields even more interest and intent, increasing traveler confidence even more. A virtuous circle, if you will. Now, if all of this is starting to sound rather interconnected, that's because it is. It connects right here. Asia is at the center of all of these trends. If we look at the gamut of experiences across cultural, luxury, sustainable, funneled through social commerce, innovation, and travel tech leadership, Asia is prototyping this for the rest of the world and leading the world on this. It's been a pleasure being with all of you today. Thank you very much. If you're interested to learn more, we've got a great new report on Asian traveler trends you can access by scanning the QR code there. And if you'd like to talk about these things more, come and chat to me afterwards. I'd love to get to know you all. Thank you very much.